So we are currently in the Webflow Designer brand new project, and I'm going to show you a little bit around the interface here because there is a lot of different stuff in here and it can be kind of overwhelming at first. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the essentials that we'll be using for this project. So starting at the very top, we have a bunch of different icons here, and these are our different breakpoints. So we start at a desktop breakpoint, and to design responsively, we can go down into tablet, mobile landscape, and mobile portrait as well. Within these, we can also adjust quite how wide it is, and you can see down at the bottom, it'll show you the different breakpoints and show you kind of which devices are at those breakpoints, which is super helpful. The main thing to know here is any changes you make to the body will flow down, but they don't necessarily flow up from mobile. So changes you make on mobile won't be like on tablet or desktop view. You could also add larger breakpoints here as well. I'll usually end up adding 1440 and 1920. Going over to the left, over here, if we click on home, it'll open up our pages. So this is where we'll have all the different pages for our projects. Our static pages are up here, and if we add any CMS collections, those will show up here within templates as well. We did skip over this little plus one, and this is our add new elements panel. So this is where we can see all the different kind of drag and drop sections we can add into Webflow. So sections, containers, div blocks, buttons, type, CMS, media, and all of the different form elements in here as well. This also has a layouts panel here, and if you have a library of items, you can add those from here. All projects start with a starter library, and if you search for anything like nav, you can just kind of drag and drop it in here, which can be pretty nice. Another quick tip I have for this section is I don't actually use the add panel all that much. If I'm working quickly and I want to bring in something from the add panel, I'll hit Control E and it brings up a find anything, and I will just type in what I need and it'll add it right on in, which is super, super nice. So I'll be using that a lot throughout this project too. It's really helpful to know all the keyboard shortcuts so you can work really fast. So that is the add. From there is the Navigator. Oops. So the Navigator is kind of the main thing that comes up to the side, and this shows you all of the different elements that are in your project. They come in these kind of drop down sections. If you go here, it'll close them all up, and if you open it, you can see pretty much every single element that is in the project panel. So this is really helpful if you're trying to like click a link specifically and try to figure out what its parent elements are. Really great at kind of showing you a visual DOM structure of the whole project. So that's something that we'll use a whole lot to kind of navigate through our project. After the Navigator, we have components, which we'll dive into. These are kind of elements you can set globally and then use them throughout the project. We've also got our variables panel, which opens up a whole panel, kind of new to Webflow, where we can kind of save certain styles and then use them throughout the project. Over here, we also have our style selectors, which shows us all the CSS classes we've created, as well as our assets. So this is where all of our images, if we had documents or video, they would also go in here, and that's where we'll manage all of the assets from. There are a few more things in here we won't really go too deeply into. The main one would be CMS collections. We'll dive into that a little bit for this project, but that is where it lives. There's a bunch of other tools here like logic, this is users, e-commerce, and if you have any Webflow specific plugins like I do, they will show down here. Kind of moving down and around to the side is where our style panel lives. So this is where we'll be doing a lot of the CSS styling for the project. So the style panel has the things we can set for layout, spacing. This is where we'll set our classes. We'll spend a lot of time here in this panel. Also up here, there's a few different tabs. Besides style, we also have our settings tab. This doesn't change the style, but certain elements have different settings. Just trying to I'm already doing the tutorial of our settings, and this sort of changes depending on what element you have clicked. So with any of these, you can set the ID, the tag, so if it's a header, footer, section. But with things like our toggle, we can either show or hide it here. With our nav link, this is where we'll set our link settings as well. And with sort of our global nav, we can also kind of show what it looks like on different breakpoints too. So that's sort of where we'll go for those settings. Up here is also where we'll add in new interactions for our project. Finishing back up here at the top, kind of the most common thing we'll be clicking here is the toggle preview button, and this shows you what the website will look like on the web without having to publish it. So this is kind of the edit view, and then this is the preview view where we can kind of check our work. This will play any interactions that we have, that whole thing. The one thing preview doesn't do is if you have any custom JavaScript, it won't show it. So you would have to come over here to the final button that I wanted to show you guys, which is our publish, and click publish to selected domain. So once we click this, it'll publish it on the webflow.io staging site, and then we can open that up and check what it would look like on a live domain up here. So with all that said, we are going to go ahead and dive into a few principles to be aware of before we get started actually building this project.